Hey guys! So today you and I are going to talk about gaps. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, Frederick, what is so bad about a career gap that employers are wary of hiring somebody with one? Is it rational to reject a candidate just because he or she has a gap on his or her resume? Nope, it's not rational. But as I have Well, at this point, it's going to be famously said, people are not rational. If they were, the world would be a very different place. Most of the stupid shit that you see in the world is due to that the average human being is not rational. It's a emotional and easy to manipulate set of values that steers most of people when they make a decision or so forth. It doesn't matter what it is, basically. There's a saying where, or rather, I can't remember now, but I saw like a representation of sort of the way that humans usually makes decisions, and you can imagine your emotions as being an elephant and your rational thought as being a person on top of that elephant. And as long as the emotions are all in check, the rationality within you can steer the elephant around. But if anything disrupts the elephant or like your emotions, you can forget about having any control. That's gonna do whatever the fuck it wants. And it's the same thing here. This thing is usually no different from why some people won't buy a game that or like watch a movie that has I mean, it doesn't even have to be a bad review. It can be a something other than 4 stars review, etc., etc. That's why restaurant owners and so forth have things to say and about this review system, like Yelp and similar sorts of platforms. It's the same thing with if you're buying computer games or whatever. Like there is this notion that anything below perfection or similar sorts of ideas is bad, and we've never been. I don't think I've ever been in. I have never seen the level of neurosis and demand for perfection I've as right now. Like it's to the point where it's getting it's past the point where it's insane. I actually did say to I claim that the next level is when we no longer worship perfection within humans. We start worshiping things that are that are basically impossible fiction. I'm not saying that we're not already there to a certain degree with putting higher and higher requirements on anybody who is supposed to be in a position of power or someone who's famous, or even ourselves by like having this idea that there is a correlation between you not knowing, because that is in essence what it is, you not knowing and things actually being a certain way. What I mean by that is basically this thing here. You don't know what the gap is there for, but you think you do. You think that this is the way it should be because this is what your emotions are telling you, that well, if you take a gap year, usually the managers that have that question this, they are looking for red flags. Now, a rational person won't look at this as something weird, but some people I know have had gaps, and they have had gaps because they were stressed out or mentally exhausted, or they wanted to do something else, etc., etc., and all that converts to the wrong person into, oh, this person has a weak mind, or this person might be a problem, or this person might not really be so committed to his or her profession, or maybe they're not so good, etc., etc., because it's something other than it's something other than you have only been doing this job and that's it. And that's sort of which is sort of funny to me, because the thing that determines whether or not someone is a risk when you hire them, it doesn't really matter if they've had a gap or if they've been doing something else and so forth. It comes down to, do they actually know how to do this thing that you want them to do, and are they good at that thing? Because everything else is up for grabs, and this is the thing that I'm saying, like you have this mental picture of how things go or how things work when you don't actually really understand that. And it's your perception that is warped to the point where you don't realize that, just as I said before, guys, you don't have a guarantee that your job is going to be there tomorrow. You don't have a guarantee when you hire a new employee that they're going to be a good contributor, even if they have top-notch grades, etc., etc. You don't know. They might just have a completely a change of heart at some point and go, no, actually I don't want to do this anymore, I'm going to go and do something else. And this is why I tell people that if you want to have a sustainable team, business, or whatever when it comes to people, you have to structure the work process in such a way that the loss of a single person is no big deal. It can happen and it doesn't really change much on the bottom line, because it's always a factor that this might happen. And so some that are pretty poor at this might look for anything that might be a red flag, because they are in the what I call perfectionist mindset. Like they're looking for perfection when, and this might be a good segue into sort of, well, I think there's a good correlation here between what I've said to you guys about writing perfect code. There is no such thing. There is no perfect candidate. There's no one who has a perfect life. It's if you are thinking rationally about this, the thing you should be doing is to write things where the cost of failure, or like in coding world, write code that has a low cost of failure. And when it comes to hiring people or so forth and so forth, make sure that you know what you're looking for, and make sure that the cost of making a mistake here is fairly low. That's all you really need to do. But unfortunately, as I said, that requires a rational mind. And the people who are subject to too much emotional thinking, well, it's not their cup of tea. They're going to go with their gut feeling on this one, and their gut feeling is based primarily on something that is completely illogical. So what I want you to take away from this is that on average, it's not, you don't have to worry so much that you have a gap or something like that if you haven't been working for a few years or so forth. It's really a matter of, do you meet the requirements? And you might have someone who like notices that you've been not working it. I mean, I don't know how big the gap is or so forth, but in essence, the reason why most feel something about this is, as I said, they have this idea that it affects either your performance, maybe you're out of date, etc., etc. And the reality is, as I've said, guys, that all these things could be true even if you had things on your CV. Like I've interviewed people, guys, who have been steadily working for years and years and years, and they're still crap. Like to the point where I can't recommend them to my employer. Like just the other day, I had a dude who was apparently supposed to be a principal engineer, yet he could not really give me a straight answer to anything related to this job that he's supposed to have been having for years and years and years. So it doesn't matter if it's irrelevant that he has been working for years, because he doesn't have the skills. And that is this, at the end of the day, what you should be looking at. So if you're dealing with an employer that has an issue with this sort of thing, it's very likely that if this is held against you, it actually has more to do with the fact that they're incompetent when it comes to evaluating the performance and skill of the people that they are hiring, as opposed to it actually being a problem that has any significance. Have a great day.